Hello students, welcome to online classes of Geography of class 11. Today I am going to begin your fourth chapter of the book India Physical Environment, and it is the first class of this chapter. Now the topics that I have listed for today's discussion are, there are two terms which are very much similar to each other, so we will find out the difference between those two terms, that is climate and weather. Now there are some elements which is there under the categories of climate and weather. We will discuss those elements of climate and weather. Our country India is having what type of climate, why it is so, and then comes monsoon, and we are having, due to this we are having two types of climate, that is equable climate and extreme climate. So we will find out the difference between those two climates too. So let us proceed with the first topic of discussion, that is climate and weather. Now here you can see the picture of two maps. Now in the first map, in this map you can see that there are some symbols showing sun, some values are written over here. You can see the cloud present over here, and some sort of other symbols are given over here. Even some of the values are written beside this. So the values that is written, it indicates the temperature condition. The sun indicates that it will have a bright sunshine. The cloud means it is having a cloudy weather. It can relate to precipitation. It is given in this map. But here in the second map, it is written with a one color. It is written monsoonal climate of India. So what does this indicate? Here we can see that within one country, somewhere it is cloudy, somewhere it is sunny, somewhere the temperature condition is 32, somewhere it is 42, somewhere it is so there is a variation, somewhere it is 20. So in this way there is a variations, but here it is only one single part, that is monsoon. So here we will get those two terms very clear, that the variations are there in climate, but variations are there in weather, but there are no variations for the climate, because it is an average and it is a dominance of one single element. Now let us move to the first of all elements of weather. What are the elements of weather? Now there are 5 elements of weather. Number 1, it is temperature conditions. Number 1 is temperature. What is temperature? It is a degree of hotness and coldness, and the instrument that is used to measure the temperature is thermometer. Second, wind. The moving air from high to low pressure is termed as wind, and the anemometer and wind vane is basically used to measure the direction and the velocity of the wind. Precipitation. Water that falls to form from atmosphere to the surface, and that is due to gravitational pull of the earth, it is coming to the surface, and it can be in various forms. It can be in a form of a liquid, that is rainfall. It can be in a form of a solid, that hailstones or ice snowfalls. In this way it can be in different form. So this is precipitation, and the measures by which we can measure is the rain gauge. Then comes air pressure. Force that is exerted on the earth by air or due to air, it is termed as air pressure or atmospheric pressure, and the instrument is barometer. And lastly, humidity. The amount of water vapor that is present in the air is considered as humidity, and the instrument that is used to measure the humidity is sling psychometer and wet and dry bulb thermometer. So these are considered as the elements of weather and climate, and their definition and the way by which instrument we can measure it. Now next we will just find out the difference between weather and climate. Now weather is, number 1 is basically the condition. Weather is the condition of the atmosphere in a specific place at a given point of time, and these atmospheric conditions may take place day by day, minute by minute, or seasonally. That means of a certain area. Suppose I am there in Purulia and here it is bright sunshine, and as I start moving away from Purulia towards Bakuda, over there when I am reaching, I can see that it is completely having a cloudy sky or overcast sky. So what does this indicate? That within a distance of 2 hours, or just within a distance of nearly a few kilometers, maybe 100 or 150 kilometers like that, the weather is changing. Here it is bright sunshine, there it is overcast sky. So this is actually weather. It changes from time to time, from place to place, and as well as from seasonally. But climate is an average weather condition over a place. It mostly takes place after 30 years of time or more than that. So it is an average. Now if I am moving from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari, now it is basically the rainy season has approached. So whether it is Jammu and Kashmir, whether it is Kanyakumari, entire country is under the influence of that one single season, that is rainy season. And what it is coming under the category of the name of the climate, that is monsoon climate. Now weather may involve just one condition of the atmosphere, while climate is the conditions, includes all the conditions of the atmosphere. What does this indicate? Now when it is a summer season, or when it is, now suppose I am saying that here it is bright sunshine. So what is it? It is the temperature that is activating over here, one element, and when it is cloudy, then another, that is the humidity part. When it is raining, then it is a precipitational part. So for weather, one element predominate, but climate, where all the weathers are clubbed together and it is average of all the elements of the weather. Weather occurs in a small place for a short duration. Climate occupies a large area and it's there for a long duration. Then weather changes for a short time, climate is static for a long period. And the study of the weather is termed as meteorology, and the one who study the subject is termed as meteorologist, and for climate the study is termed as climatology, and the one who deals up with the study of the climatology is termed as climatologist. So here are the difference between the two very common terms, that is weather and climate. Now let us move to the next part, that is monsoon. Now actually the term monsoon has been derived from the Arabic word which means mausim, and the Hindi word is mausam, and literally the English term is season. So what is monsoon? Monsoon is season. Okay. Now if we have to define the term monsoon, it is referred to as seasonal reversal of wind direction. What does this indicate? What does it means? That seasonally winds are changing their direction. Now why the winds are changing their direction? Because seasonally the temperature variation takes place. When there is a variation in the temperature, there is a variation in the pressure condition too. So as a resultant, seasonally the variation takes place from land to sea or sea to land, and that is why it is termed as seasonal reversal of wind direction. Now let us move to some conceptual based explanation. Now which surface? We are having the two surfaces on the earth, that is land surface and water surface. So which surface heats up faster and cools down faster, and which surface heats up slowly and cools down slowly? Now the surface that heats up faster is the land surface. Now why land heats up faster? Because land is opaque. The sun rays can move inside, but it cannot move to the deeper depth, and in that order it cannot radiate back. So it is opaque in nature, and that is the water surface, it is a transparent one. So the sunlight is able to reach at the bottom layer of that water surface, and gradually it heats up the water surface and maintains the temperature for the entire surface from the bottom to the top surface of that water. So as a result, the one which heats up slowly, that is water, obviously it will take time to cool down slowly. Why? Because its radiating part is very slow, and the one which heats up faster, obviously it will radiate out in that order, and as a result the sun rays, that is the lands are getting heated up faster, and similarly it cools down faster because sun rays cannot penetrate to the deeper depth. It's possible to touch the depth up till the 3 kilometer of that. Now it's just a very simple experiment. If you just dig a soil for planting a new sapling, so after digging a soil for a certain depth, you can find out that the soil is comparatively cooler from that upper surface. But if you just put a bucket of water in the outside in the sun, so what will be the resultant? The moment you are keeping it at that time, the temperature for the entire water remains the same. That means it is not warm, it is cool. But gradually when the time passes, what is the resultant? If you are just putting your hand inside the bucket, you can find out that the top surface has become bit warmer, and gradually when we are moving inside the bucket, the water is comparatively cold. But after the time passes, that means maybe 3 to 4 hours, if we put our hands within that same bucket, we can find out the temperature condition of the top surface and the bottom surface is the same. So why does this happen? Because water is transparent. It can reach to the lower level of that surface, and as it is reaching to the lower level of the surface, so obviously it will take time to radiate back from the lower level of that water surface. So it cools down slowly and it heats up slowly also. Now let us move to the next part. There are some connection between temperature and air pressure. Now we all know there is an inverse relationship between temperature and air pressure, or opposite relationship between temperature and air pressure. Now why it is so? If temperature is comparatively cold over there, over the area that is surrounding, so what will be the resultant with the air that is surrounding that surface having a cold temperature? The air will also become cooler, and we all know the cooler air are comparatively heavier because they are not changing their gaseous particle, changing their particles into a gaseous form. So rather it is becoming much more denser. So cooler air exert more pressure and it creates a zone of high pressure, and if vice versa, if there is a warm air, so it will exert low pressure. Why? Because warm air gradually makes the composition of that air lighter, gaseous part evaporate out and become lightning part, means become the lighter part, that is the warm air quickly rises up, and as it rises up, as a result it exerts low pressure over there. So what does this indicate? That it is having a opposite relation. Higher the temperature, lower is the pressure, lower the temperature, high is the pressure. Now we will get the connectivity between the pressure and the wind. So we all know wind or water moves from high pressure to the low pressure. Now we are having two types of air, dry air and wet air. Now from your common sense, which air will exert more pressure? So I think 99% student will go with the answer that wet air exerts more pressure. But your answer is wrong. Now if wet air would have been exerted more pressure, then the clouds, it is a condensation of the water vapor. So why it is floating in the sky? It should have been come onto the land surface, onto the ground surface, but it is there in the sky. So what does this indicate? That wet air is lighter and dry air is heavier. Why it is so? Dry air consists of more dust particles. It absorbs, that is having the composition of more dust particles, and wet air is having more composition with the water vapor. So which is heavier? Dust particles are heavier or water vapor are heavier? And you will say, ma'am, dust particles are not there in the wet air. Dust particles are there in the wet air, but the water vapor just drag the dust particles, or just it removes the dust particle and it occupies this place. That means water vapor occupies the place by removing the dust particle, by pushing away the dust particle. So as a result, when the air is having more concentration of the water vapor, that is wet air, which exerts less pressure, and where the water vapor content is very low, it is having more concentration of the dust particle, thus exerts more pressure. So this is the main concept between the two types of air, dry air and wet air. Now the term of the monsoon that has been described, that was there in the slide, that monsoon is considered as seasonal reversal of wind direction. Now you can see the map. Here you can see the map. I am just roughly drawing the most important latitude of our country, and you all know that is Tropic of Cancer. Now when the Tropic of Cancer is facing the direct sun rays due to the revolution of the earth, what is the resultant with the land temperature of that time period? The land temperature is high. So when the land temperature will be high, what will be the resultant with the pressure? The pressure condition becomes low. That means the land is having low pressure at that time. And just going to the Indian Ocean, what is it? Here the Tropic of Cancer is not there, rather it is having Tropic of Capricorn. So that part receives more rainfall during the Tropic of Capricorn is receiving the direct sun rays. So as a result, it is having that is, the temperature is high over there, and as a result it is having low temperature. Now so when it is having a low temperature, that means it is having a high pressure. Now I am just saying this, that when our Indian landmass is having a high temperature, it will have a low pressure, and when Indian Ocean is having a high temperature, it will have a low pressure over the Indian Ocean. Please don't get confused with these things. When land temperature is high, the pressure condition of the land temperature will be low, and when the oceanic temperature is high, the low pressure conditions will be there over the oceanic. Now the main thing, we know that winds move from high pressure to low pressure. So when Indian landmass is having low pressure, so Indian Ocean is having a high pressure. So when Indian Ocean is having a high pressure, what is the resultant? The winds are moving from high pressure to low pressure. And what type of winds these are? These are moisture laden winds. These are wet winds. Just the vice versa, when Tropic of Cancer is not facing the, that is the Tropic of Cancer is not facing the direct sun rays. So as a result, the Indian landmass will have a high pressure and Indian Ocean will have a low pressure. Here it will have a low pressure. So winds are coming from Indian landmass to Indian Ocean. So what is the resultant of it? These are dry winds. These are dry winds. So they doesn't have any sort of moisture content. So the rainfall activities are not there. But when we are getting the wet winds or the moisture laden winds, the country experiences the precipitational phenomena. So this seasonal reversal of the wind direction, seasonally the direction is changing. One is moving towards ocean to land, another one is moving from land to ocean. But it is not at a same period of time, it is having a different period of time throughout the year. So this changing direction of the wind during the seasonal changes, this is termed as monsoon. This is termed as monsoon. Now one more thing is there, that is what is it? That when you can see that this is the part of our country which is having a coastal location, and this is the part where the interior part is there. One is coastal location and another one is the interior part. Now the places which are located near the coastal areas, it is getting an influence of two breezes. Hopefully you know, land breeze and sea breeze. During the daytime, the sea breeze blow towards the land, and during the night time, the land breeze blows from the land towards sea. So what is the resultant of it? It just helps to moderate out the temperature. But the places which does not have coastal location, like this is the place which is not having the experience of the sea, that is the influence of the local breezes, that is the land and the sea breezes. So what is the resultant? Here temperature conditions are extreme. During the summer season, it is extremely warm, and during the winter season, it is extremely cold. So in this way, we are getting two types of climate. One is equable climate and another one is extreme climate. So just the last topic of the discussion for today's class, that what is the basic difference between equable climate and extreme climate. Now the equable climate, here the temperature conditions are not having any variation. During the summers or during the winters, the temperature remains the same. Neither it is too hot, neither it is too cold. But for the extreme, it is too hot during the summers and too cold during the winters. Second point of difference, as I showed with the help of the map, that if it is located nearby the coastal areas, the climatic conditions are equable and it is termed as maritime climate. And that is the interior parts of the country where there is no such coastal locations, the climatic condition is termed as inland climate or continental climate or extreme climate. Now next, third one, the rainfall in the, that is the equable, obviously it has to be moderate and it is well distributed throughout the year. It is not concentrated for a certain period of time. It is well distributed throughout the year because it is a coastal location and it is getting continuous influence of the sea breezes. And for the interior parts of the country, the rainfall is limited to summer season only. Specifically, we are saying it is not summer, it is basically the rainy season, but that is the winds approaches during the summer season. Okay, that is moisture laden winds, it approaches during the summer season. So it is limited to during that summer period. Next, Mumbai, it is a coastal area, So it experiences equable climate, and the capital of the country, Delhi, it is there in the interior part, so it experiences extreme type of climate. So now you can get a clear picture that which are the areas that is having an extreme climate and the one which is having the equable climate. Now the last point of difference, that why there is having an equable climate and why it is having an extreme climate, because number one, that is because the extreme equable climate is having there to maintain the temperature by the influence of the two breezes, land breeze and the sea breeze, and the extreme type of climate which is there in the interior part of the country, it is not getting the influence of these local breezes, rather it is getting the influence of the monsoon winds, and that is why the extreme type of climatic condition is there, which is too hot during the summers and too cold during the winters. So all the that is the features of equable and extreme climate has been explained in a differentiating manner. I have completed the topic of the today's class. If you are having any doubts for today's class, just mention it in the comment section without any hesitation. Secondly, it is your duty to up to date your work following the PPT. That means just copy the notes and put down in your that is the classwork copies. And thank you for following my class. Once again, without any hesitation, just mention the doubts in the comment section, and have a nice day.